We're live. What's up, everyone? We are going to be allowing everyone to sort of get in here, but I'm joined with my potato farming brethren from the Ireland Ires. We'll do a proper introduction in a second, but Johnny, why don't you go ahead and tell everyone who's already in the chat right now where they can find you at, good sir?
Top of the morning to you. Eedly. I have no idea what all these Irish statements are about. I was about to actually remind Mark, don't forget to pound on me for being Irish, but it seems by that intro alone, he's remembered that quite well. Is that what's good, y'all? I'm Johnny Indie Boots. My name is Johnny. I love indie music, and I wear funky boots. I'm a simple man. I'm a simple leprechaun, as Mark likes to put it. But it's good to be here, Mark. Cheers for having me on. House Baratheon all day, folks.
No doubt. And by funky boots, you mean like high heels or like what? What do you mean?
No, I mean alpha male stilettos. No, I just mean funky
alpha male stilettos.
Funky boots, mate. You're already throwing me in a hole. I might as well jump in it. Funky cowboy boots.
Beta men can't wear those, dude. Only alphas.
Yeah, strictly. Because the stilettos, like, they can be a weapon. You know what I'm saying? That's like Baratheon style, you know?
Yeah, it's
Rip
for when
the horn over the head.
It's for when you're drop kicking dudes in the face.
Yeah, it's that manly thing, like, and hopefully you don't get your skirt like all muddied up, you know, like real men. A kilt, sorry, kilt. My bad.
Do you guys wear kilts in Ireland, or is that specifically a Scottish thing?
Nah, that would be Scottish. Like, our traditions, we have very unique aspects of, like, when it comes to Gaelic and Celtic, and like, there's not a divide because I love Scotland, but I have to give the kilt goes to the Scots.
Nice. So do you, like, I don't know which part of Ireland you live in, but are you by chance close to Belfast and like all of the, Game of Thrones happenings?
You say it like it's like a weapon. It's Belfast.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, it's all right. We'll say it's a Game of Thrones name of a warhammer. It's Belfast is in Northern Ireland. Mm-hmm. And I'm in the Republic of Ireland. I'm from Dublin, the capital of the Republic. So I'm on the green side of Ireland, so to speak.
Is that the south or?
South, yeah, the south. And I'd be an hour's drive away from where Winterfell is. Like, I have a few pictures up there. I go up there probably every 2 years to see what's new. Do you have the beaches where Melisandre gave the speech in season 2? Do you have the forest, where the direwolves were first found? Like, I highly recommend it. If you're ever coming over to Europe, you love Thrones, give it a look. Give me a shout, man. I'll show you the way up.
Yeah, I was about to say, that's crazy, dude. So you live an hour from fucking Winterfell, and you go up there once every 2 years? What? What the hell?
I know it does. It sounds bizarre, doesn't it, when you think of it like that? Well, it's like, my favorite part of it is probably when I went on the tour. Like, one part I enjoyed the most was, do you remember when King Rob gave the speech in book 1, season 1? Do you remember the cathedral that you were standing behind where they dubbed him the King of the North? Like, that's probably the most beautiful when you see it in the light of day. Like, that's probably, for me, that was the most breathtaking one. Like, on that Game of Thrones, St. Patrick, he had a castle built across the road, but I didn't really care because I was like, look, this is where he was the king. Screw that shit.
I like that. Well, real quick, do you want to sort of tell everyone what kind of content you make and, like where they can find you at? We're gonna, I'm trying to figure out what's going on with my mic because people in their chat are saying that it's fading in and out.
Yeah, it jumps up and down.
That's so weird, dude. This mic is way too much fucking money to be doing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this don't make sense. I was doing that before. This is why I haven't put out a video in a couple days, because I can't figure out why my fucking mic is doing this. I might have to switch mics.
Yeah, go to the snowball, man. The snowball is always the winning one. And with the content thing you were saying, it's mostly based around Game of Thrones. Like, in the break, I just kind of do the news weekly, and I break down what articles are decent, what ones are crap. I break them down in like 5-minute breakdowns, and I want to do an Avengers review just because that's out, and I absolutely love that.
Yeah, dude. And, oh my god, such a good movie.
Wasn't it? And Westworld too, man. Other than that, it'll be random kind of spoofs and jokes about Game of Thrones and Brienne looking like a dog piece of shit. Sorry, I said that to piss Mark off because he's an avid Brienne fan.
Hold up. All right, I'm switching mics.
I'll get it. Anybody in the chat see the new Westworld, man? If other people didn't, I will not spoil it on you, but really good. Really confusing too, but really good.
Alright, so how does that sound?
Well, I can hear you, so obviously my ears bleed a little bit, so it's good.
No, I mean, like, is it cutting in and out, or?
No, not at all, man. It's perfecto.
Alright, cool. God damn, I guess I gotta take this fucking Blue Yeti back to the goddamn store, I guess. Jesus.
Just send them the link to this stream and say, give me your receipt.
Just send an email to them like, hey, look, guys, come listen to the Baratheons. Alright, so I guess we'll wait. Let's see how many people we got watching right now. 40 is a pretty decent amount. We'll go ahead and start this thing off properly. Alright, in 3, 2, 1, and cut to awesome graphics. Alright, what's up, everyone? My name's Mark, and in this video, I'm joined by my lovely friend, Johnny the Leprechaun Indie Boots from Ireland. We are going to be discussing House Baratheon in all of its glory, as well as some predictions for Gendry in Game of Thrones Season 8. But before we begin, Johnny, do you want to tell everyone where they can find you at, good sir?
Yes, it's Johnny Indie Boots. That's where you find me. You can add the Leprechaun in, obviously, to my voice if you want, but it's an easy mistake. You find me over on Johnny Indie Boots, and thanks for having me on, Mark. You know I love my Baratheons, and I end up getting into a lot of trouble with people for that, and I don't know why.
Alright, so now people are saying they can't hear us at all. Oh my god, this is classic, dude. Like, what the fuck? This is crazy.
He's blocked my mic because he hates Baratheons.
Alright, so can you guys hear us now? Please type in the chat if you can hear us.
Eedly test. 1, 2, 3. Well, I can't say 3, so could we just keep it 1, 2, please? 1, 2, 1, 2.
Alright, cool. Drown got a tits and wine says he can hear us perfectly. Alright, cool. Alright, so without any further ado, I am actually reading this, verbatim, but then also, like, freelancing it from the Game of Thrones style Wikia page. And it's linked down below in the description, and you can go and read it for yourself. But we are going to be discussing a brief history of House Baratheon, and then jump into predictions, and maybe we'll even discuss Stannis the Manus. House Baratheon was founded by Ors Baratheon, a general in the army of King Aegon I Targaryen, the founder of the Targaryen dynasty. He's the one who actually united the 7 kingdoms and brought everything, or, well, for the most part, brought 6 kingdoms into the fold. He was never able to conquer Dorne. That wouldn't be done until, many years after his death. Ors Baratheon was also rumored to be Aegon's bastard half-brother. He ended up defeating Argilac the Arrogant, the last of the Storm Kings, and captured his castle of Storm's End. For his accomplishments, Orys was made Lord of Storm's End, and he ended up founding House Baratheon. Orys took the sigil of the words of the defeated House Durrandon as his own. And Durrandon, if I'm not mistaken, is actually a shout out to The Hobbit. We have King Durrandon. I think he's one of the Dwarven kings. He ended up cementing his rule over the Stormlands by marrying Argilla Durrandon, the daughter of the fallen Argilac. 281 years later, Lord Robert Baratheon led a rebellion against King Aerys, the Mad King Targaryen, after his eldest son and heir, Prince Rhaegar Targaryen, ran off with Robert's betrothed, Lyanna Stark. Now, there's actually a little bit, behind this, and we've touched on it in the show. It's a rumor that she was kidnapped. It's more than likely she was seduced, fell in love with this, Elvis, as he basically was, thanks to Teflon TV. He made the perfect comparison of saying that Rhaegar was basically the Elvis of that time period. So anyone who was, young and up and coming, like a princess or, maybe a lady, they obviously looked up to Rhaegar, and he didn't have to do much to get them to follow him. So this is most likely what happened. But anyway, Robert was backed by Eddard Stark, Jon Arryn, and Hoster Tully. He ended up slaying Rhaegar at the Battle of the Trident and King's Landing. Hang on a second, I gotta let my cat out, sorry. Really, dude? You wait till I start fucking streaming, now you're not coming back in.
I hope that wasn't an innuendo.
Oh, man. Kitty cats can be dickheads sometimes. Alright, where were we? Okay, so Robert killed Rhaegar at the Battle of the Trident, and then he ended up capturing the 7 kingdoms and moved on to King's Landing. Wait, where? Okay, we're jumping all around. Soon afterwards, Tywin Lannister sacked King's Landing in the name of Robert. At the end of the rebellion, Ned Stark found his sister Lyanna in the Tower of Joy in Dorne, where she died in a bed of blood. With the last known Targaryens, Prince Viserys and Prince Daenerys, they ended up leaving the capital, obviously, and they flew across the narrow sea to the free cities of Essos. Robert ascended the Iron Throne as King Robert I. He was wed to Tywin's daughter Cersei Lannister, and thus formed the royal cadet branch House Baratheon of King's Landing. Robert appointed Jon Arryn as his hand of the king. Now, one thing that sort of leaves out is the fact that the only way that Robert Baratheon was able to claim the throne rather, was through his grandmother, Rhaelle Targaryen. So Robert has that Targaryen blood in him. And if you'll notice, he's black of hair. Even with that, I guess it being further down the line, but it's still it's a more dominant trait to have black hair if, someone was to have sex with a Targaryen. When House Baratheon became the new royal family, the main house's heraldry was slightly altered, adding a crown to the black stag on a golden field, indicating their newly conquered royal status. When Robert became the new king, he left his younger brother, Renly Baratheon, to rule the Stormlands from Storm's End. Meanwhile, he appointed his middle brother, Stannis, as the Lord of Dragonstone. Words, learn how to speak them, let's go. Dragonstone was traditionally the seat to the heir of the Iron Throne. This formed the cadet branch of House Baratheon on Dragonstone, which was solidified by Stannis' merits to Cersei Florent. So, usually what happens back in Targaryen rule, anyone who was considered the Prince of Dragonstone, anyone who ruled from Dragonstone that was the prince, was traditionally considered next in line for the Iron Throne. So Robert continued this tradition by, well, actually, not really, because, we're going to get in that too a bit. Let me not jump ahead of myself.
Yes, we are.
This also made Stannis the liege lord of several minor outlying islands of the Crownlands. They were all in Blackwater Bay. This was seen as an insult to Stannis, who had failed to capture the last Targaryens at Dragonstone when he assaulted the storm-ridden island, as windswept and isolated Dragonstone was not wealthy or prestigious as Storm's End. However, Stannis was a proven military commander, and a loyal vassal of his experience was needed to reign in Dragonstone. And then you can pick up with the next. Johnny?
And the next line, yeah, no problem. Whose lord ruled over the houses that had been the most loyal to House Targaryen. Renly and Stannis both served on Robert's small council as Master of Laws and Master of Ships. I personally think Stannis should have taken two titles, because we all know that Renly is the Master of the Sword. Mm-hmm. Not a wooden sword and not a steel sword, respectively. However, they continued to be referred as Lord Renly and Lord Stannis, even after Robert's ascension to the Iron Throne. Prince Renly and Prince Stannis were not. It isn't exactly clear how King Robert envisioned dividing up his possessions for future generations of House Baratheon, or if he even had a plan. It isn't clear if he meant to permanently unite the Crownlands around King's Landing with the Stormlands around Storm's End. Apparently I can't read either. Which do border the Crownlands. Alternatively, he might have handed off Storm's End and the Stormlands to a cadet branch of House Baratheon formed by Stannis or Renly's children. You should have just given it to Stannis, just saying, but that's later. While Robert's own children ruled the Crownlands, there's even the possibility that Robert intended to cut his younger brothers out of the succession entirely, which we have seen in the later episodes, and have the rule over the Stormlands passed to the younger son, Tommen, because Tommen is an alpha male. Yeah, right. Whatever plans Robert or his counselors may have had were swept away by the outbreak of war upon his unexpected death by a boar.
Well, boar and then poisoned wine. But, so, look, you're the Baratheon in-house expert. Do you think that Stannis should have been given Storm End? Or do you think that Robert didn't do this because he saw Stannis as, sort of more of a better ruler than he was? So he kind of wanted to keep his brother in, like, a position where he knew, he was never going to be able to, I guess, rally House Baratheon lords, and maybe, you know what I mean? Do you think that's why he did it? It was more of like he was intimidated by Stannis?
I think if Stannis approached him through the years, like after he got fatter, like as he said, he's a great soldier, not a great ruler. So when it came to the political game and all them gains, I couldn't see Robert thinking ahead that far. I just think him and Stannis, he considered Stannis weak. And because Renly was the baby, he kind of like, not like Robert is a mother figure, but he kind of was like, yeah, you can look after yourself. So it's like taking your little brother over your middle brother to a concert or a band or something. Do you know what I mean? So that's why he took him up to King's Landing with him. how Renly got Storm's End baffles me. It's like Stannis was down in Dragonstone, where them overgrown iguanas lay. Just saying.
All right, look, dude. You said that last time when we tried to record this, and this was going to be a podcast. You said that an overgrown iguana is an understatement. Okay, I've seen some giant iguanas, and they can't breathe dragon, or they can't breathe dragon. They can't breathe fire. They can't fly around. They can't conquer the 7 kingdoms. So that's insulting to my house and to my favorite characters. But either way, I want to do some quick shout outs real quick before we sort of carry on here. It's a tradition on this channel, and I kind of forgot to do so.
Get it.
All right, so everyone who is talking right now, make sure you go ahead and type in the chat so your name will appear on the participants list. All right, so far we got shout out to Chad Warden, Chrissy of Old Stones, Danny Jeter, J Fox 22, Johnny Indy. Oh wait, that's you, Johnny.
Salute. Hi.
Hi. Nancy, SCRH Gaming, Talamasca Dan, and the Drowned God of Tits and Wine. Anyone else, if you are watching and have not typed in the chat, welcome, and I hope you enjoy this show. All right, so continuing on with our discussion here, we're gonna jump into Gendry in a bit, but do you think? We kind of discussed this last time, so you can just kind of, I guess, mention what we had talked about before. But do you think that Stannis' character on the TV show was interpreted to be a religious zealot as opposed to someone who had this responsibility thrust on them, and they're just doing their best to, sort of take the ball and run with it? Also, shout out to Smokeahanas. I didn't see you. What's up, girl? But yeah, do you think Stannis was basically pooped on the TV show, his character on the TV show?
And first and foremost, salute to all as well, and Mark for having me, of course. And to answer that is, I remember we spoke briefly about this, is with D&D, like, they have favorites, as I say. It's like with children, it's like with books, it's like with characters. And they straight out said, like, we don't like Stannis. So any role he got that was big in the books, they kind of took it and they minimized it as best they could, and just make him an unlikable figure in any way. Most scenes with Stannis and Davos, I find Davos he's over him. Now, we know, because we get Davos as a point of view, and we love Davos, but they undermined him at every sense. They kind of Baelished him, show Stannis. That's how I feel. So him coming across as a religious zealot, he took any of G.R.R. Martin's writings and then just went 100 on the bad side and then minimized, anything good about him. That's the way I think. Because as I said, Mark, if you wrote the screenplay for the show, you have your favorites. So characters you don't like, you'd probably blackball them out of the show. And I think that's what they did. We all would if we were in control. Catelyn would be dead in episode 1 for me, along with Sansa, Daenerys, and the iguanas. But do you know what I'm saying? It's biased.
Look, the iguanas, as you call them, don't make an appearance until episode 10, so it's impossible to kill them before she even gets them. One thing, speaking of which, Fire and Blood coming out this fall, it's going to reveal the origin of Daenerys' eggs. That's fucking amazing, dude. We're going to have theories for years off of that. I cannot fucking wait. But, I honestly feel like, I agree with what you're saying. It's like they interpret things how they want to based on how they see it. Because when they had that initial meeting with George, I'm pretty sure the question more of, who's Jon Snow's mother was the one question that George asked them. They got it right. And then also, how do you think it's going to end? Who's going to sit the Iron Throne? Which I'm sure they also got right. So all of the in-between of, these characters that have POV chapters, this character, we know where their arc's going. It's either, they misinterpreted the character, and this is how they saw it, so this is what they're portraying for us on screen, and you don't really know otherwise unless you go and read the books. Or it could just be that they knew Stannis was going to die by 20 good men and Ramsay Bolton, so there's no point in extending his arc and making him seem out to be this awesome dude when we want the focus to be on Jon and Daenerys because they're in-game. You know what I mean?
You trolling. I like how you just belittle Stannis in that sentence there so nicely. As I say, I see, well, we'll leave that for later, on predictions and comparison. I do get what you're saying. It's the way I just call dragons iguanas. That's what you did with Stannis and 20 good men. I get what you're saying, though, on an honest level. I strongly disagree, but I totally get your standpoint on it. D&D, don't know what to do with Stannis.
Yeah, I think, since they do know this in-game, they know relatively more than we do, more than the average person knows about how it's going to end. They might have saw, maybe something happening where most of Stannis' army was defeated, right? When he marched on Winterfell. and then Stannis was able to escape. He came back to, you know, the camp. If I'm not mistaken, I think Selyse stays at Winterfell, right? Or she stays at Castle Black. She doesn't even march with him.
Yeah, that's where the theories are coming around that she will be behind Shireen getting burned.
Yeah.
Or Melisandre, like them two are the top contenders. Or like I don't see them as separate entities. I see them as the same. Melisandre will suggest and she will do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like they'll go hand in hand.
Or maybe what could happen was Stannis makes it back to Castle Black with a few people, and he realizes that they're in the north, they're outnumbered. Drastic steps need to happen. There's no king's blood around except for his daughter. What if George told him that? You know what I mean? It would be sort of like, obviously Stannis would not want to burn his daughter. You know, that's just not even in question. Shireen is like, she's innocent. You know what I mean? So I don't think that he would actually do that. But what if the defeat at Winterfell forces him to, you know, sort of like become this person that we kind of don't recognize? Do you think that that's a possibility? Maybe Dan and Dave sort of knew that, so they kind of just gave us that storyline early, and it, you know?
I don't mean to answer your question with a question. I just like when people do that. But just on one thing, I will answer that. Is do you see the Boltons and the Freys actually beating him? Like, just to flip that question around. I think the odds are in Stannis' favour. He's plucked holes in the ice. Shireen is up away from him. He's already making his way down there. He's already brought most of the north on side with him. Even the wild ones up in the mountains, he's managed to bring them on side because he's an amazing commander. And he's brought all them together. Like Jon Snow, his season 6 arc. This is what I mean by minimalising Stannis. All of what Jon Snow did and the way he was leading them, like that was Stannis' arc, just taken from him and given to Jon. Do you know what I'm saying? So I believe the favour is in Stannis' hand. And with this 20 good men that you're saying I do, it's a very funny quote. But I see him winning Winterfell and then marching south against the orders. That's when that will come into play that he used in the show. So that he will continue going south against the north. No, the north will be saying, here, winter's coming, stay with us here. And Stannis too defiant to get the throne. He's not going to listen. And on that march down, that's when he'll die. And Jon Snow will step in and be the man he's supposed to be.
Well, see, here's the thing with that. I've heard multiple people mention that Winterfell is a pretty hard castle to lay siege to. It's pretty hard to take over. 100 men could defend, you know, from 20,000, right? So if this is the case, not only are a small portion of Stannis' troops actual northern men, most of them, if I'm not mistaken, are sellswords. They don't know what they're doing. You know what I mean? Ramsay and most of his forces, I'm sure Winterfell is super souped up, and I'm sure it's just ready to go. You know what I mean? They're waiting for this. So I feel like Stannis kind of doesn't really have the upper hand. Like, he may have the numbers. And that's interesting that you said that. It may be switched where it's like, you know, Ramsay greatly outnumbers Jon Snow. What if it's more like Stannis greatly outnumbers Ramsay's army and we still see Ramsay, you know, successful?
1-1 broke that door with ease, Mark. Just saying. didn't look hard to break down with 1-1, did it?
Well, I mean, here's the thing, though. Are those wildlings that technically Jon brought into the fray? Well, Jon didn't even go to Hardhome. Who was it that he sent to Hardhome? Was it Dolorous Ed to go and get them, or was it...
I think it was Dolorous Ed, yeah. I don't think it was Gwen. Dolorous Ed... Oh, what's the names on the tip of my head? Because you remember, like, he never spoke about it. He avoided having them conversations in the book about what had happened up there.
Yeah.
Like, anytime he brought up, he just avoided it, like.
One thing that I will say, though, is that, you know, I don't necessarily know if, like, obviously you're saying Stannis brought in some of those wildlings, but would they have even joined at Castle Black if it wasn't for Jon Snow?
Well, they were... No, I don't believe so.
You know what I mean?
So. That's
so,
what I think
you're
Jon
saying...
and Stannis. Like, but they go hand in hand, and then if you look at that and Stannis promises them that they can take some lands here, they can be safe, compared to what they had before, which was nothing. Like, I'm sure they would scatter. Some would disagree and some would agree because they're not unified under Mance at this moment. Do you know what I'm saying? And like the loyalties would be questioned.
Hell yeah. But I don't mean to change the subject, but we got a super chat from Danny Jeter. He says, get Hunts to the Con of Thrones. Hell yeah. Thank you, good sir. Yes, Con of Thrones is what? Probably a little bit less than 3 weeks away, less than a month away. I actually have linked down below in the description a GoFundMe page for which you can drop in some money, or you can send a super chat. The thing with the super chats is that we actually don't get paid for this until June, so it wouldn't be until after Con of Thrones. So if you want to donate, feel free to do so, and I'm not asking you to do so. I have money saved up, but if you want to, you can go and make a donation to my GoFundMe. It's linked down below in the descriptions, because Con of Thrones is coming up. It's gonna be fucking awesome. I can't wait. I might get to have sex with Shay and Roz, my dude.
And can you tell her she's not that funny?
What? I'm not gonna say anything to her other than, oh man, you're so amazing. I love you in the TV show. Can I have your autograph? Let's take pictures.
You're my favorite character.
Nah, for real though. I mean, dude, I think we all enjoyed scenes that Roz was in, and I think we all enjoyed Shay as well. I mean,
underrated characters for sure, man. For sure. Who else is there? Can I just, not to veer off, just out of curiosity, Shay is going to be there, so there's going to be no comedians. And who?
Gilly is gonna be there. Gendry's gonna be there, dude. Like, you should take the trip across the pond and come and see how the American potatoes grow.
Oh, that's all right. I hope you enjoyed that. I'm gonna sneak onto Winterfell and ask, "Where's Stannis? What's going on?"
What if you did go there and you just saw him like in the background? Because like there was some news. Spoiler alert. There's a spoiler tag in this thumbnail. So if you don't want to know anything about Game of Thrones, go ahead and back out now. Also, don't click on videos that say spoilers for season 8. But either way, I'll give everyone a few more seconds. 3, 2, 1. The actor who played Rhaegar Targaryen, aka John Cena mixed with Viserys.
John Cena.
Yeah, dude, he looks like John. His brow is extremely prominent. But anyway, he was actually spotted filming. Now, don't exactly know the details on it, but he was spotted filming, and one thing that could mean is that we will get a flashback involving Rhaegar Targaryen. We've already saw him get married. We saw Lyanna give birth to Jon Snow. One of the only points in having it, well, okay, there's two separate things. One of them could be the tourney at Harrenhal, which we get to see them initially falling in love. Not that we need to, because them falling in love was them actually getting married instead of Rhaegar raping and kidnapping this woman. So we don't really need to see too much about the relationship. So that leads me into thinking it's going to be the battle at the Trident. Maybe we'll get to see what went down. We'll get to see Rhaegar in action. We'll get to see a younger Bobby B, and we'll get to see the rubies flying everywhere, and maybe some crackhead dude who's drunk off the poppy, milk of the poppy, and he's like, oh shit, like, that scene from Friday. I don't know if you've seen that movie from Friday where basically Debo gets knocked out and the dude walks up and steals his shoes. Maybe we'll see something similar to that.
When he leaves, I'll be talking. That's how Rhaegar is to Robert.
Oh man, that was so good. Danny Jeter says, I didn't know she was a real porn star. Yes, the actress Sibel Kekili, who plays, and I know I butchered that wrong, she's Turkish, German-born Turkish. She is an actual, she's an actual porn star, which is amazing. Smokeahanas said Mark only mentioned the whores. Why do women can't call them that? That's so derived. I saw someone else do that. I can't remember if it was in the chat, but they were like, the whores. I'm like, what? You can't say that. Oh, man. I don't know. Whatever. It's funny, though.
But you're supposed to call them women of the night.
Ladies of the evening. All right, let's get back on track here. I'm going to counter-reel myself.
We're talking about Rhaegar. Rhaegar, the funny whore.
All right, so let's jump into... I guess we can discuss more of, like, why Robert chose Renly over Stannis, and then we'll jump into Gendry for Season 8. So, real quick, give me your best sort of, like, explanation of why it was, and I know we kind of touched on it earlier, of why it was that Robert chose Renly to be the next in line for the throne, as opposed to Stannis.
Well, when you look at the history, like, and if you to break like a small piece of the psychology that goes down, just from my humble opinion, I'm not saying that as fact, but to answer your question from my outlook, is you go back to when they were younger, and then you look at Robert, like, as I say, Renly was always like he was mothered. Do you know what I mean? Like, he was spoiled and mothered. Like, he lived that mollycoddle. That's the word I'm looking for. So Robert wouldn't even deem him not like a threat, but from a competitive edge, because I have a brother that's a few years older than me, and us two do be at each other's like throats because we're so close in age. And with Stannis being the middle child, like middle child in most families, like you're kind of like the ghost for a bit. Shout out to the direwolf without the CGI. And when you think about that, then you weigh out when the two of them had their boards, Eagles, which we have to delve into too. You had Stannis, who had Proudwing, and I'll leave it to your chat. What was the name of Robert's board, or the Go Shock, whatever you deem it? Y'all can get the name of that. I'll leave that for y'all. And you look at that, and like Robert called Stannis' Proudwing like weakling. That's what he nicknamed it. So when you look at like there's a dislike, and then when Robert is talking to Ned, you even see it in season 1, like you know, I chose my brother. You know, talking about Ned. So he really didn't give a crap. I don't think he gave a crap about Renly. He just kind of let the mollycoddling continue. Like that was it. I don't think he gives a crap about his family in general, in my opinion. And Stannis just unfortunate to have an older brother like that.
Well,
when you're not in a row.
I kind of feel bad a little bit for Bobby being that aspect. It's like he can't help his genetics, and we know Targaryens on their deathbed, leaving the kingdom in chaos as far as the line of succession, is a thing and a theme that repeats itself heavily throughout Targaryen history. So that was just his Targaryen side. And honestly, I think the fact that he was being poisoned sort of diluted his decision making towards the end. You know what I mean? With that on top of the milk of the poppy, he was just ready to let go. But I definitely think that, you know, there was maybe something a little bit to be said there, that he thought Renly as less of a threat than Stannis. But as far as the eagle question there, I want you guys to type in the chat, just like what Johnny said. Tell us the name of Robert's eagle. We do know that Stannis' eagle was named, what did you say, Proudwing? Because he couldn't really fly. One of his wings was damaged. And actually, I think George made up a species of eagle, because it doesn't exist. I'm looking at the species, all these different types of species of eagles right now, and there is no ghost shack, but there's bald, golden, white-tailed harpy, stellar sea, crown, Philippine, black eagle, wedge-tailed, common,
was on this.
booted eagle, Eurasian sparrowhawk, North goshawk. Maybe that's it. A goshawk? A goshawk?
Goshawk. That's all you sound
Okay,
like
okay, so he didn't. All I had to do was read 15 species, and I found the one that George...
It's there.
Yes,
Wait,
it is, dude. Yeah, it's a northern.
Oh,
I'm gonna link it in the chat right now. It's a northern goshawk. I can't say it right here. I'm dropping it in the chat.
You have a lot of love in the chat as well, Mark. You have 2 humble donations.
Oh
as well.
shit! Oh shit! Word. We got a super chat from Doles, the author. Sam Doles, the author. Lovely lady. She's a commenter here, or frequenter, heavily frequenter of the videos. We got a super chat from her. Thank you so much, madam. And we also got a super chat from the prince that wasn't promised. The hunt's afoot. Get the donation train going. Hell yeah. Thank you, good sir. Thank you. Or lady.
Respect.
But yeah, so yeah, it's the northern ghost shack. That is the species of eagle that the Baratheon's eagles are in the novels. Alright, so yeah, maybe I should have read that and then called out George. Like, George made up a species of eagle for his books. No, he didn't. It's right there.
It's nice to hear your real voice come out, Mark. I appreciate your honesty in this stream.
I saw Chad Warden had said earlier in the chat, and I didn't want to cut you off when he had typed it. You were speaking, but he said, "I got these cheeseburgers, man." That's a line from fucking.
I peeped that too.
Yeah, isn't that from The Longest Yard? The one dude.
Oh no, that's from Don't Be a Menace to South Central while drinking the juice in the hood.
Yeah, but I feel like there's it's a joke when they're in prison, and he always has McDonald's cheeseburgers. Somehow he always has a McDonald's cheeseburgers, and it's actually the dude. What is his name from the Old Spice commercials? He's the one that always has. I don't know. I'm getting my references messed up. All right, but
I'm thinking of the Renly version of that reference, which I cannot finish. I got these cheeseburgers, man.
All right, so let's jump into Gendry. We've sort of been, putting him off a little bit. He, as of right now, in the TV show, is the last surviving member of House Baratheon. He's actually had his storyline chopped and mixed up with Edric Storm from the novels, and he is not a character on the TV show. But as far as that, I honestly feel like certain characters like Fagon and, maybe Edric, their storylines were sort of cut from the TV show for, obviously, pacing's sake. We can't spend all this time with characters that don't, have a prominence when you continue on throughout the novels. But also, like I said earlier, Dan and Dave have an end game in mind, so they sort of know that maybe those storylines aren't really going anywhere, like with the whole Fagon thing. Or maybe they gave Fagon's end game, like, let's say Jon Snow stays dead, right? Dany does end up uniting with another Targaryen, conquering the Seven Kingdoms. That could obviously be Fagon. So if this is the case, do you think that Gendry's journey is going to end in a similar spot that Edric's will in the book? You know what I mean?
Well, I guess, yeah, it's kind of like, as the old writing terminology goes, it's the shaggy dog treatment, isn't it? Like where it's just like a story with no, like, no one cares really. It's sad to say, but Gendry's being built to a higher plateau, so that tells me in the show, like that tells me when you look at them three storylines that that's a hard one, Mark, because I'm of one of them that like Aegon is who he is. Do you know what I mean? Most people are like Fagon, as you prominently said there, but I'm on the side that he is who he is, and I think that would be a bigger twist because J.R.R. Martin normally twists and like pulls. So what if he just pulls the rug on you and go, I wasn't fooling you there, and by doing that, technically fooling you, which means Gendry is the true king, Baratheon.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of hard, especially when you're making predictions for the books. You have to take like 2,000 pages into consideration. You know what I mean? Over 6 million words into consideration before you can really make a prediction. So I'm just gonna make my prediction. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, sorry, Mark. I was just saying, and J.R.R. Martin's a bit of a troll too, so it's not like it's straightforward. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah. I honestly think it's safer on my end to make a prediction for Gendry on the TV show. I honestly see it, if he doesn't sit the Iron Throne in the end, then the Iron Throne will be meaningless, and maybe we'll get a governing body of senators, that represent different regions in Westeros, and they all sort of come together and vote on what's best for the kingdom. If this is the case, Gendry would totally be, sort of up there with this, because we do know that he is, as of right now, he's the armor smith and the messenger for Jon Snow, who just had sex with Daenerys, who is the potential ruler of the Iron Throne. She's got the biggest army to do so, the best chances as of yet. Even with Cersei, who's technically already sitting the Iron Throne, Daenerys is the most set up to become the ruler in the end. So with that being said, Gendry's got it in with, as of right now, he knew Davos. Davos is connected to Jon Snow. Gendry and Davos had that conversation, and I honestly think that was an amazing start. Little do they know, their real fathers actually hated each other. And it's mentioned that, Gendry's like, well, our dads, they were best friends. No, they weren't. Gendry's dad killed Jon Snow's dad. I don't think Jon Snow is going to feel any type of way because of that. Obviously he's going to find out that Rhaegar is his father, but that's not going to change anything about him. Just like how we all thought Jon Snow was going to die, come back, and be changed from the fact that, and I actually have a panel on this at Con of Thrones, called John of the Dead, I think. Basically, the differences we've noticed in his character from when he died to when he came back, there honestly hasn't really been any. So I feel like because of that, for the TV show, we've missed this giant arc of Jon not necessarily being, antisocial, but just being dark, being more ruthless in his decision making. And he honestly is the exact same as he was when he died. So there's really no effect of that. But I feel like there's potential because Gendry knows Jon, and because he's also in with Daenerys. I think there's potential for him to at least maybe be given the Stormlands. What do you think about that?
No, that's a great one. I remember like a few years ago kind of thinking like, not with Gendry specifically, because that'd be an impossible guess for people if you're being honest, but just in general how that will like play out. So it's kind of like every house like gets their own sovereignty, but they're under this kind of democracy, like united under democracy. I think they're their own republic in a way. I think that would be awesome. And if Gendry could represent like the black and yellow, I'd be happy for any Baratheon to live at this stage. I'm desperate and clutching straws. So like I would go on side with you. And also, can I just say to you, Mark, quick as well, Chad asked, how does he donate? And you got another donation if you want to shout them out, homie.
Yes, we do. We got a super chat from Nancy T. Thank you so much. She said, already hit up your GoFundMe, so here's a little for something for when you get back. Well, thank you, madam. Thank you. Always thinking of the future. And Chad, if you are on mobile or if you're on a computer, there's like in the chat window, there should be like, on the phone, it's in the bottom right-hand corner. It's like a dollar sign. You can click on that and you can donate any amount. I think it's like $1 up to like $5,000 or something. I have no idea. But thank you again, Nancy, for that super chat. As far as, I actually have some questions that we need to answer from Patreon. We're going to do those real quick, and then we're going to start taking questions from the chat. But as far as predictions for Gendry, do you want to give me one bold prediction for him for next season? Just one.
All right, and not a normal one. I'll reach out just for the sake of it. It's like as we know, we've read the Forsaken, and we do know that Valyrian steel is on Euron. But in the show, well, Euron's like a mannequin. He's wearing that for Jon Snow. seeing as they haven't taken that storyline in the show, I believe Gendry will obviously craft the weapons, but he'll come to Jon with a surprise and say, I can make other material too. So when Jon's having his face off against the Night King, Gendry to make a Valyrian steel suit for Jon Snow.
Nice, nice. I've done a video about Gendry getting together with Arya, and I feel like this prediction that I'm about to make is going to contradict that. But that's one of the things about doing, constant Game of Thrones content is you're going to contradict yourself because the way that you think is going to change. You know what I mean? And you're going to watch something that makes you think about something differently. But either way, I predict one bold prediction for Gendry in game is that when he reunites with Arya, they're actually not going to have any of that. And I don't even want to call it chemistry from before because Arya is like 9 years old. Maisie Williams is like 13 and Gendry's like 30. So
is that shovel home, you go for it. You're a part of the Night's Watch now.
I might as well go for it. But I'm just saying, like, it sounds creepy as hell. But there was like a little bit of, he was like, "You'll be my lady," and there was some lines that most people, if you read into them, would pick up on. Okay, there may be some relationship potential in the future coming for those two. But I feel like the bold prediction will be is that when they run into each other, that is going to be non-existent. Neither one of them are going to be on the same page. They're both going to be complete opposite. I don't even think Gendry's going to be able to look at Arya the same way because when he looks at her, he's not going to recognize who she's become. Before, Arya was going down this path to become, somewhat of a free thinker, an independent woman. She kind of handles her business. Maybe she might get some revenge here and there, but he never saw her becoming a faceless assassin with, at times, has no heart. So I think that is kind of, going to sort of like push Renly away, or Renly. Oh my God,
Renly,
really just
say
right
there,
push Gendry away to the point where they may not even have a relationship at the end of the game. So I think him and Arya.
You think he's gonna shadow her? Like he's just gonna blank her? Is that what you were saying? He's just gonna go get away from me?
I think she's gonna be the one to more so do that. You know what I mean? Yeah, I think mainly because what's going to happen at the beginning of the season is we're going to have Sansa dying, and that's going to push Arya down this path even further to trying to seek vengeance for House Stark. Because here's how it goes. Either the Night King attacks Winterfell, and the only two people that make it out are Sansa and Arya, or just the main characters that we care about, and it's the Night King. So it's like, okay, they're forced to flee south and maybe go and make an alliance with Cersei. Or Cersei's the one who attacks King's Landing, or God damn it, what about Cersei's the one who attacks Winterfell, and in her attacking Winterfell, Sansa dies. Like, they escape to the crypts, but there's just too much of explosions and stuff. And we did see, like I said from before, another spoiler warning, we saw Winterfell being lit on fire. So at some point that's happening next season. If this is the case, Cersei could be attacking it with wildfire. Maybe they get down to the crypts of Winterfell, the foundations start burning, and then, we get this collapse of rubble. And this is actually from a plot leak that I read couple months ago, but I just love this ending for Sansa. If this is the case, Sansa dies by the hands of Cersei. That would push Arya down the path to go back to where she was pre-season 7, which was, you remember, she made that decision once she heard that Jon was back home at Winterfell and they had won the Battle of the Bastards. She decided to go home instead of go to King's Landing. And you remember, she's at that end and she's like taking that long look of like, I can go south of King's Landing or I can go north of Winterfell. That wasn't that long ago when she was still trying to make that decision. So if something like Sansa dies, I don't really, I know Bran's at Winterfell, but I don't see him dying. I see him seeing the attack coming and maybe having the Maester sort of get him out of the way. But I honestly, I think that, their two journeys, Gendry and Arya's, are as of yet going down separate paths. So that's my one bold prediction for Gendry. And then
interesting.
And then we have, I know that was a long-winded response there, but we
no, man, it was interesting, man. It was interesting as hell.
We got a couple questions from my Patreon members. Let's see. This question is from Mo Castillo, and he just joined Patreon family a few days ago, so welcome to the family, sir. And he says, who do you feel will be involved with defeating the Night King? Something cool would be if it took all the Starks, Jon, Arya, and Bran. Now, I want to say shout out to Mo. Thank you for submitting that question. I do think it's hilarious that he left out Sansa entirely.
Nice. I like him already.
He says all the Starks and then says Jon, Arya, and Bran. Like Sansa's just not there. But either way, I love Sophie Turner. I don't want to get that mixed up. Sophie Turner, oh my God, she's gorgeous. I love everything about her. I just feel like her character in this endgame, she's a Game of Thrones player, right? So she's a key player for the Game of Thrones. And if by the end of this show the Game of Thrones is going to be non-existent, then what kind of role is she going to play? I was hoping to see her in season 7 training with Arya and Brienne, but she's not. She's comfortable being sort of protected. You know what I mean? Not all
like
of
friendly.
Yeah, exactly. Like not well. Hey man, what? Don't set me up for that. I didn't say that. But either way, she doesn't seem like she wants to learn how to fight for herself. She seems content in allowing other people to do so. That kind of personality or that sort of attitude towards things in the end game, that's the worst kind of way to think. But either way, do you think the end game for defeating the Night King? I honestly think that for sure Jon and Arya. Bran is obviously there's no question. It's going to be, you can't defeat the Night King without Bran. As far as what roles Jon and Arya will play, I see Jon and Arya playing a similar role to maybe pretty much everyone that was with Jon Snow north of the Wall when they decided that the best way to defeat the Army of the Dead is to get the Night King 1v1 and take him out. So I honestly think that Jon and Arya are going to have an end game in doing so. Arya's dagger, as of right now, is fire on fire incarnate. It's Valyrian steel, which means dragon fire was used to make it. And it's also got obsidian or dragon glass emblazoned on the handle. There's like 2 different types of colored dragon glass on it. So that dagger is literally, if you look at it from like, a fantasy standpoint, it's fire on fire on fire. You know what I mean? The one thing that it's missing is having actual like dragon bone handle, which it does. It has a dragon bone handle. So literally this dagger, if it is not secretly Dark Sister, or even if it is some Targaryen historical blade, there's no way that it was just brought back. It was almost used to kill Bran, who a lot of people think is the Night King, and honestly, if that dagger was used to kill Bran, then we would stand no chance against this oncoming onslaught from the undead. I honestly feel like Arya's role will be to use that dagger to stab the Night King. Jon's role will be to get the Night King to the point where they can, have him one-on-one. And then Bran will be to attack the Night King in the Weirwood Net. Now, I've got several theories for how Bran can do this, but one of the things I noticed immediately is that when he's in the Weirwood Net, he can walk around. His legs are working again. So if this is the case, I feel like it would be 100% possible for him to warg with the sword in his hand, go and attack the Night King, fighting him in the Weirwood Net. Obviously, since the Night King has increased power in the real world and also in the Weirwood Net, maybe Bran can do this and sort of have some of that superhuman strength and then try attacking the Night King, or at least getting him to the point where he can free Hodor's mind. I'm going off on this long rant. Do you think that Arya, Jon, and Bran will have an end game, or what do you think their role will be in destroying the Night King?
No, of course, man. Half of this is about rants, man. It's a good question. That's why you were going in. It's like, it can't be simply answered with a yes or a no. Do you know what I'm saying? You have to put some thought into it. First of all, so it's kind of like set up like, go power Starkies, Direwolf, I choose you. I would put it as just Jon and Bran versus the Night King. I remember a few years ago talking about this. I think Bran will fight the Night King on a mental plane, and then Jon will fight him on a physical plane. Sword for sword, with Bran weakening him, because then it makes the Night King look overpowering like a villain. You need that. You can't just be weak and have Jon Snow one-on-one him. So if Bran's kind of mentally fighting him to bring him down a bit, so Jon can actually have a fight, and then I think Bran eventually breaks the Night King for a split second, goes into him, and then Jon Snow, all Tyrion, and Bran is like, you have to do it, man. And the only way to kill the Night King is when Bran is in him, basically restraining him for that moment, and Jon Snow has to kill him, which will essentially kill Bran. That's how I see that playing out.
Yeah, that would be dope. All right, so then we have another question.
And also, Mark, can I say quickly?
Yeah.
With the Night King coming, I think this is one apocalypse that Sansa won't survive. Just saying.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
X-Men swag.
Yeah, to not sound, too, like, I guess, chauvinistic or whatever, she really doesn't have a role to play if the end game involves destroying the actual Game of Thrones, destroying the political establishment that they have known as the Iron Throne, destroying everything about that. So if that's destroyed, what would be Arya's purpose in the end? To carry on the lineage of House Stark? No. I think her death is going to mean something, and pushing all of the last 3 remaining Starks, Jon, Arya, and Bran, pushing them into their final whatever, sort of hesitations or whatever they had holding them back from before. Sansa's death is going to lead them to, make those leaps. I honestly feel like, and this is going back on what I said earlier, Sansa's death and Arya witnessing it, that could push Arya down the path of 100% we need to be a pack, as opposed to making her want to break off and, go against Sansa's wishes, which was the lone wolf dives, but the pack survives. Real quick, we got a super chat from Macton Knife, and he says, "How do you think Littlefinger will reappear if still alive?" Oh man. All right, so we'll answer that quick, and then we have 2 more questions to answer from my Patreon. I'm gonna pass that off to you, Johnny the Irish Wildling. Have you heard the theory that Littlefinger, and I can't remember, I think I discussed it in our last, when we were trying to record this as a podcast, but basically the theory goes that Littlefinger paid the iron price to have a faceless man come and take his place, and that's who actually died, and Littlefinger escaped. From the very first moment that he saw Arya fighting in the courtyard with Brienne, Sansa told him that she's a faceless man. Littlefinger does have the lineage of, you know, he grew up in Braavos, so he's aware of the powers of the faceless man. And ever since that moment, he started planning on trying to, you know, sort of get away from Arya. You know what I mean? So that's the theory. Do you think, if Littlefinger's still alive, if you're, you know, a fan of that theory, how do you think he'll make an appearance?
It's an interesting one, man. It's like, it's a lot to take in quickly. Like, I don't think he's alive, but to go with that, like, how would you bring him back in, more or less? I don't know, bring him back as a white. That seems to happen most people. A white.
Well,
but for real, that's great though, with the way you said that, his location where he's brought up. But I was thinking, like, if he's brought up around there and he knows the faceless man, I thought that would be one aspect of his game he would be blind to in the books, with Arya killing him, because he has no clue, like, about the actual arts of it. That's how I always saw Arya getting him in the books, because she's actually, like, she knows what she's doing and that. So if he does know about that, that would change everything, really.
Yeah, I personally feel like, you know, one easy way for him to reappear is at the very end, to become King of the Ashes. He's famous for that. You know what I mean?
The ladder chaos, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, the little finger I know, I always say this. Do you remember in the show? That's the little finger I know. Is when Bran start quoting him, it says chaos is a ladder. If this was Littlefinger from the books, as soon as he heard that he's like, Bran is actually speaking shit I said years ago, I am getting the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? Getting the fuck out of here. Gone. But he stayed, so that never made sense to me. It's a very interesting question, man.
Yeah, I feel like, I do believe that he's still alive. Small amount, tinfoil cap, fully engaged, level 20,000. But yeah, there's a chance he's still alive, and the way that he could come back is, you know, towards the very end, to sort of reign supreme over the chaos that he alone has caused. I just feel like it's not the way that I hate Littlefinger. People who watch my channel know that I cannot stand this dude. I call him the little bastard, but it's like his death wasn't justice. He's this master manipulator. He's supposed to see stuff coming from a mile away. How did you not see that happening? You know what I mean? And the look on his face is like, what? And she goes, how do you answer for these crimes, Lord Baelish? He's like, what? My favorite is this meme of him trying to walk, when he walks up to the Knights of the Vale, and he's like, I demand you to escort me home. And like, there's a little meme that goes, you cannot fast travel when enemies are nearby, which is classic gaming reference. Oh man, I love that.
Assassin's Creed right there, man.
Yeah, dude. Also, Elder Scrolls too. Like, whenever you try to mount and get on your horse and run, you can't do it because there's enemies nearby. You can't fast travel. Like, you gotta. Yeah. But anyway,
pay the toll or die.
And I see we have a super chat from Big Kev. Thank you for that, sir. I'm going to respond on that comment, but let me get in these last couple questions from my Patreon. Thank you for that, Big Kev. Shout out to see you around. He was one of my original subscribers, man. He's been here since I had, I think, like less than 100. He always used to write, "The North remembers," but he doesn't do it anymore. He used to comment that on all. But either way, thank you for that super chat, sir, and I will respond to your comment in a split second. What'd you say?
No, I was saying, no, respect to that, man, for sticking around when you were just making it, and he still comes around and supports you. That's cool. He must have gotten promoted to a knight, so he's a bit busy, you know.
Hell yeah. All right. So this comes from my Patreon, Dwayne Erickson, and he mentioned how, you know, basically. Okay, wait. That was in response to the other question that he asked, which was like, when Bloodraven or the Three-Eyed Crow tells Bran that he's going to fly, what exactly does that mean? Warging ravens? That seems kind of lame, you know, or warging crows rather. That seems sort of lame to, like, will he fly? Do you think that Bran has a potential or the possibility to maybe warg a dragon?
It's never been touched on, like, to give a 100% answer. I think from book readers, show watchers, like, you can't 100% say he will or he won't, like, because dragons are magical creatures too. So you have to think, how does that element come into play? Dire wolves are more ancient creatures, so you could understand how they could all warg into them. Whereas dragons are like they're magical creatures, like. So I would love him to warg into a dragon. Do I see it happening? Are we speaking about the show? No, I think it is the crows, and we got trolled the fuck out of.
Well, I think there's a possibility for him to be able to work Viserion. If it's possible to get the Night King to demount Viserion, and Viserion is sort of like fighting but still under the Night King's control, it's possible for Bran to work into Viserion. If, in my opinion, if he's somewhere like the Godswood, which he feels safe, he's surrounded by weirwood trees, his power will maybe be amplified because of this. Maybe he has some power bestowed on him from the Kings of Winter, from the Crypts of Winterfell, and this increases his power, and he's able to work Viserion long enough just to bite the Night King in half and just roast a bunch of whites right before he gets permanently trapped in the weirwood net. Because we do know that dragons have the intelligence similar to the level of certain humans, and they're smarter than certain humans. So taking a live dragon who's not already dead like the Night King does, the Night King wouldn't be able to warg a regular dragon that's alive. Otherwise, he would have done that. As soon as he saw Daenerys, he would have taken over their mind, and he would have driven her straight into the ground and destroyed all of them right there, and had 3 dragons to take Westeros. But he can't do that. The dragon has to be dead first. So Bran, can Bran warg a living dragon? No. Can Bran warg an undead dragon? Well, yes. Eventually, if his powers increase to the amount or to the level that the Night King's powers are, he could warg an undead dragon. But there's no way that he could warg a live dragon. It just goes against that. Like, if I'm not mistaken, one in every 1,000 skin changers is a warg, and 1 in every 1,000 wargs is a green seer. Something like that. Wargs specifically can warg into dogs or wolves, and then skin changers can do other animals like birds,
saber-tooth tigers.
But yeah, and
iguanas.
Then so hopefully Dwayne, that answered your question. And then we have one more from Dave Gray, and then we got another super chat from Big Kev. That's what's up, man. The question from Dave Gray goes: out of all the characters left going into season 8, other than Jon and Dany, who do you think would make the best ruler and why? So obviously I'm gonna say Daenerys, but the drowned god of tits and wine knows me, and he's like, well, you got to take away Daenerys. And then if you take away Daenerys, my next choice would have been Jon, and he said you have to take away that too. So I'm going to toss this off to you, Johnny. Who do you think is the best ruler if you remove Jon and Dany? And I'm also going to say you can't say Tyrion, because that was mine.
Okay, and I'll remove them 3 from the equation.
I'm just kidding. You can say Tyrion if you want to.
No, I believe Tyrion make a better hand. Are we just picking like overall ruler and hand, or just overall ruler?
Just overall ruler, like the.
Ooh, because you see, mine is it's a 2 for 1. But if I was to go on who's alive now and left, like, you can joke saying Tormund just because he's genuine and natural, but that's a joke. For real, who would rule the kingdoms? Who would rule the 30? Who's been under Sansa. Everything? And you can't pick. No, I hear a voice in my head. It's like the devil speaking to me. Is like, as a good ruler, I can't say Gendry because he's not good in law, but that can work for you for an aspect because he's brought from the slums, so he would get the people like a lot more.
But
do you know what I mean?
But he also has no governing experience.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's the flaw to it. That's why like, I'm not saying him. I'm just trying to break them down in my head as legit. Like, Tyrion he's a great one, but it's too obvious. I want to go different now, so you can have your little Tyrion love affair. Mm-hmm. And so I will go. Jon will stay up in the north. He's too kind of noble to take that throne. Do you know what I mean? He'll do his deed and then go back to the north.
Or if they do want him to sit the Iron Throne, maybe he would move the capital to Winterfell just so they would be closer to stopping the Long Night again if it were to happen. He would reestablish, because you have Aegon the Conqueror establishing the kingdom in the south, the capital in the south, King's Landing. Used to be called Aegon's Landing, if I'm not mistaken. It would just, Jon is this, maybe instead of a conqueror, he's just like reorganizing the entire structure as a whole. I don't know.
I have it just from you saying that, man. I go with Davos. He's humble enough to know the lands. He would know the laws. He knows how people work, and he knows how to talk to kings, as he's been around them to have a vast amount of knowledge in it. Davos. I would take him as my ruler any day.
Nice. I would have to say Tyrion or Sansa
Tyrion, mainly because he's got 36 POV chapters in the books. He's got the most connections. It only makes sense that someone who has that much experience and they're still alive would sit the Iron Throne. He's also fair and he's just, and I'm pretty sure if you're taking a tally, he's killed more Lannisters than anyone. So that's a benefit. He didn't kill Myrcella, but him sending her there got her killed. He's going to eventually probably have a hand in killing Cersei if she is to die. And he also killed his father on the pooper. The show's version of Tywin in his later life was a dickhead. He wasn't the Tywin that we knew when you're reading about the history of the Mad King and you realize Tywin Lannister developed roads. He developed the taxation system. He was such a good dude that he found out, this is just a one-off example, but he found out that there was this baker who was filling up their bread with sawdust and it was poisoning people. Tywin found out about that and forced the baker to sell, real food. So Tywin in the novels in his early life was a good dude, but Tywin later in life, asshole. Most of the people, the citizens of King's Landing, know him, as this sort of dictator, sort of ruler. So Tyrion has that working for him. But as far as Sansa, this is where her expertise comes in. She's showing us her, her skill and her experience last season. As soon as Jon leaves, she's like, let's get all the food here, which is going to come back to bite her in the ass because we saw Winterfell on fire. But she's like, let's get all the food accumulated here. Everyone's going to be coming here come winter anyway. So it makes sense that we already have the food here before the storms break out. She's also discussing, about just different affairs that's going on in Winterfell. So she's showing us that she's a sponge. This whole time she hasn't just been, getting screwed over and crying all the time. She's been learning from what's been happening to her, just like with Arya. So I feel like Sansa, not just because Sophie Turner is gorgeous, but I feel like Sansa would be a good choice as well as Tyrion. So you think Gendry, and I think if I'm going to pick between Tyrion and Sansa, I guess Tyrion.
No, Davos. I'm going with Davos on you.
What did I say? Gendry? I'm a jackass. Oh, that's the Baratheon. I can't get the Baratheons out of it. All right, and then we have, I think that was the last question from Patreon. Yep. All right, so this is in regards to Big Kev's super chat. He said, Gendry will be Arya's bitch. He'll be the stay-at-home dad and do whatever Arya tells him to do. I'm sure he'll be okay with that. It's a man's fantasy. Hell yeah, man. I like that. I agree with that. So do you think basically, what Kevin is saying there is like Arya is going to sort of be the one, and I kind of see that because I don't think Gendry has a strong enough personality to be like, I want to be the ruler. I want to be the man in his family. If Arya says, let's go west of Westeros, Gendry's going to be like, I'm down with it. You know what I mean? Do you see Gendry sort of taking the back seat to allowing Arya to do what she wants to do, and maybe that's what's going to make the relationship come together?
Yeah, I think it's a good shout on that. I would see him with Sansa over Arya in the long run, but if he is with Arya and it came to that question of Gendry go daycare, I think it's not because Gendry's a weak personality. I just think he's so laid back and chill. He's like, oh, you can have it. That ain't even what I'm mad at. He just seems like a very chilled kind of dude. Doesn't really care, for about them kind of things. He just go, okay, no problem. Like, I don't think you'd be able to have a good argument with Gendry because he doesn't seem like the type to be argumentative. He'd just go, okay, you do that. I'll make toys for the kids. And then let's crack on.
Yeah, he seems like he'd be, more willing to just go with it. I feel like this is kind of a good wrapping up point. We've discussed House Baratheon for a little bit of their history. We've made some predictions for Gendry for Season 8. We've gotten some awesome questions from the chat. Is there anything else that you want to discuss in regards to House Baratheon, Stannis, Gendry, Robert, Renly, any of them? Do you have any statements that you want to make?
Well, there was one question asked early on in the chat by Aaron, and he asked in the chat, he said, like, Johnny, in the books, if Stannis ends up burning his daughter, will you still follow him as you do? And my answer to that is simple. Is at this stage, I'm telling people I'm Buck Stannis. After he burned his daughter on the show, I've switched to I'm Buck Stannis. And if he burns his daughter in the books, I'll say I'm Buck 1 to 4 Stannis. So that's me way out there. I have a way out each way. But I do not condone that. And that would be my answer to that. And about the Baratheons in general, just to wrap it up, Gendry is the last one we've given. That's great English, isn't it? We've given our predictions there. And I believe I just like to touch on Robert for a minute. Everyone goes on about Rhaegar. I think Rhaegar is overrated. And when Robert smashed him, that makes me kind of like Robert a bit more. He's not as horrible as he comes off or seems. He's just a brute. He reminds me of Gimli. from Lord of the Rings. They have that angry face and they love a bit of a fight. But under it, they're really not a horrible person. They're nice. And Renly's nice too, but he's not a favourite. And Stannis is justice. So what a house, what a family, what a sigil. And salute to the chat as well for being awesome. And Mark, a humble cheers to you for having me on, homie. It's always great fun.
No doubt, man. Thanks for joining me. We still got a couple more minutes, good sir. We're not, I'm just sort of reading, scanning over the chat here. Danny Jeter says, "What are the chances that we will see Storm's End?" I say, there's several locations in Westeros that are fabled, that are supposedly they look amazing, and then we see them on screen and they're kind of a bit of a letdown, like Casterly Rock. I honestly feel like we saw Casterly Rock, we saw the Citadel, we got to see Old Town, we got to see Eastwatch. There's no reason why we shouldn't get to see Storm's End, especially since one of the main reasons why Gendry was brought back on the TV show, I think, was to sort of just give, a legacy and an heir to Robert. Lady Snow says Robert has a few bastards, Shireen McLean says surely Robert has other bastards somewhere in the Seven Kingdoms in the TV show. And actually, no, this is not the case. Remember, Cersei had sent out the order, or I guess it was Joffrey, sent out the order to have all of Robert's bastards killed. Remember that baby that was being held upside down by his foot that they dropped in the river? I hated that, but no. In the novels, yes, there's Edric Storm, and then there's, he got around, but for the TV show, it's pretty much just Gendry. And yes, also Maya Stone, who's in the Vale, yes.
Replaced a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
It's like, do you want to bring that up, Mark, to the chat as well while you're going through it? Me and Mark had a back and forth, and I think Mark makes valid points. I think I do too. The Brienne of Tarth discussion we had. Do you want to let them in on that?
What's that?
Basically, your chat's gonna go against me here, but it's all fine. You look great in comparison here, Mark. It's all good. House Baratheon I believe Brienne is one of the biggest hypocrites in the whole of Westeros. I'm not a hater of her. I think she's an absolute superb warrior, but what she stands for it's kind of obnoxious and undermines everything about her. Oath Keeper, when she got that, it kind of wound me up a bit because she jumped ships so easily. Cersei was correct how easily she jumped ships. Now, if you look at her story, you can kind of relate just as a human being. It's not horrible. She's not evil. She's not nasty, but she's the biggest hypocrite when it comes to keeping oaths. If she was really loyal and kept oaths as she speaks, as she does, then she would have gone with Stannis, because regardless of Renly taking her to a little dance and looking after her, Stannis was next in line, not Renly. Yet she sided with Renly, joined his rainbow guard of flowers and poppies, just because Renly took her to a dance or he danced with her, whatever. And she basically broke her oath because of that. So I think she's one of the biggest hypocrites in Westeros.
There's kind of a lot of things that I sort of debate to that. Okay, so the reason why she went against Stannis was because Stannis sent a shadow baby to kill Renly. Now, you have to understand that
she joined his guard before that, though, Mark. So that's not true. She already signed up with Renly to join his rainbow guard, remember?
Once he had taken her on a dance, once he showed her, what it is to sort of feel like a lady, you know what I mean? She fell in love with him. So I feel like the main reason why she went against, or she joined the Lannisters, if you will, was because she knew that the Lannisters were going to be fighting Stannis. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
But before that, I mean, because she's supposed to be, her house is under the Baratheons. Do you know what I'm saying? So the next in line, as Ned wrote the letter, was Stannis. So her loyalty was to Stannis, the original next in line. The only reason Renly opposed that is because he was like, Stannis wouldn't be a good ruler. I'm sorry, Renly, that's not a good enough reason. You're going against oaths here. That is just the rules. It's the way it is. Stannis was next and you went against that. And then she sided with you. It's before the shadow baby came into play.
Yeah, but honestly, I feel like none of these Baratheons can really say they're next in line because they're usurpers. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I guess I don't have a strong enough point in this because I feel like the Baratheons are all just a bunch of pretenders. You know what I mean? They have some.
I thought you were going to say potatoes.
But yeah, no, I mean, they have some Targaryen lineage, but if you want to look at it rightful heir, then that's Daenerys, or Jon Snow, not any of the Baratheons. But either way, I think that's a good
usurped. Sorry, Mark, just saying, they usurped the overgrown iguanas.
The Targaryens? Not really. They united. There were petty kings and warlords everywhere, but as far as like established kingdoms, they were sort of there. But he brought them all under the fold, made it like sort of like made one kingdom. So I don't know. But I feel like this is a good point to end this, and you guys can help us debate down in the comment section. But as of right now, I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you could please slap a like on this. I think there's something like 50 people watching, but only 10 likes. Please slap a like on this. Make sure you're subscribed. Turn your notifications on. Make sure they're turned on for all the time, because YouTube is doing this weird shit where they're like, I'll notify you part of the time. But either way, I get, tens of comments of people telling me that they're not getting notified that my videos are up. So please, make sure you have your notifications turned on to all notifications. I want to thank Johnny so much for joining me. Johnny, real quick, do you want to tell everyone where they can find you at?
Respect Mark for having me on, and you can find me over on Johnny Space Indie Space Boots. I'm Johnny. I like indie music, and I wear funky boots, not stilettos or high heels before Mark says it. So it's just Johnny Indie Boots, and humble cheers for having me on, Mark. Always a hell of a lot of fun. And you are right about the part of Targaryen and Baratheon. But as a Baratheon bannerman, I must say that every human being has a bad side of them, and that would be the bad side of the Baratheons.
And as far as just to touch more on the boots, Indie is Gaelic for potato. So Johnny is literally Johnny Potato Boots. He's like, he likes to crush spuds. I don't know. It's the weirdest thing. He actually, before we started this podcast, he was literally like, hey, dude, can you send me some potatoes? I'm out, and I don't feel like going to the store. I'm like, dude, you know how much it costs to send potatoes from America to Ireland? He's like, oh, no, you don't have to worry about that. You can just put it on the end of me rainbow, and it'll pull it right to me. So, I don't know, there's that. But, no, on some real shit. Thank you, Johnny, for joining me, man. I really enjoyed this. Hopefully we can do this again. If you guys want us to cover a particular topic, make sure you write it down below in the comment section, and we will touch on that. Hello, Helena von Leinstein. Late to the party, Hattie. But, yeah, I want to thank you also. Huh?
Sorry, Mark. No, sorry. It's just real quick. Can I give them a proper Irish goodbye and yourself as well? Slán la and Gora Mahago means goodbye. Have a nice day.
Wait, say it one more time.
Slán la and Gora Mahagot.
Slán la Gora Mahagot. Was that good?
Stop it with the leprechaun.
Yeah. Slán la have a leprechaun. Oh man, heart stars, horseshoes, clovers, and blue moons. That's where I got my Irish accent from. You can blame American media, dude. We have like the worst Irish stereotypes here. Like, the one Irish accent I was exposed to as a child was the fucking leprechaun from Lucky Charms cereal. So that's, anytime you hear my Irish accent, it's just an impression of that. It's not like, I don't mean to offend any Irish people. I love Ireland.
I think it's hilarious, mate. I take it in good jest, you know what I mean? We should all lighten up. It's in good jest, you know what I mean? That's the way I take it. And can you all drop a thumbs up to this video from Mark, because his streams are magically delicious. That's all you're getting from me. Never again am I doing that.
I don't know what a thumbs up is, but maybe a thumbs up. I'm just kidding.
T and H, yeah, we're allergic to T and H.
Alright, but thank you all so much for watching. If you could please slap a like on this. My name's Mark, and this has been Sir Hunt's Reviews. Rawr, Dragon Noise, I am the storm.